Hello everyone and welcome to our channel PhysioSaurus. In today's video I'm going to talk about the kinematics of sternoclavicular joint. So let's just start the video. So basically there are 6 movements in the sternoclavicular joint which are elevation, depression, protraction, retraction and anterior and posterior rotation. Okay, anterior rotation and posterior rotation. So these are the 6 movements which occurs in the sternoclavicular joint. Now we are going to talk about the kinematics of these following movements. So first let's start with the elevation and depression. Okay, elevation and depression. So elevation and depression, these both movement happens in the sagittal axis. Okay, sagittal axis. The depression also happens in the sagittal axis. Now if you will talk about its plane, then these both movements occur in the frontal plane. So they occurs in the sagittal axis and in the frontal plane. Okay, frontal plane. Now we are going to talk about its osteokinematics. Okay, osteokinematics. So how these movements occur? So let's just understand that. So in elevation, the lateral end of clavicle move upward or superiorly, but in the depression, the lateral end of clavicle moves downward. Okay, or you can say inferiorly. Now let's talk about the orthokinematics. Okay, orthokinematics. So here in the elevation, the convex surface glides or slides over the concave surface, and same in the depression movement. Okay, so in both the movement, the convex surface slides over the concave surface, same. Okay, so the gliding is inferior in the sternoclavicular joint, in the elevation, and gliding is superior in the depression movement. Now let's understand the protraction and the retraction movement. Okay, kinematics of protraction and the retraction. So protraction and retraction, they both occurs in the vertical axis and transverse plane. Okay, so vertical axis, I'm in short form I am writing VA, and transverse plane I am writing TP. Okay, so these both movement occurs in the vertical axis and transverse plane. Now let's talk about the osteokinematics. Okay, osteokinematics. So in the osteokinematics, the lateral end of clavicle moves forward. Okay, forward. So in protraction, the lateral end of clavicle moves forward, and in the retraction, the lateral end of clavicle moves just opposite of forward, which will be backward. Okay, so lateral end of clavicle moves backward. Now let's talk about the orthokinematics. Okay, so again here concave surface is moving on convex surface. Okay, convex surface in both of the movement. Okay, in the protraction and retraction. So the gliding is anterior in the protraction, while gliding is posterior in the retraction. Okay, So now we are going to talk about the anterior rotation and the posterior rotation. Okay, anterior and posterior rotation. So anterior and posterior rotation, they both happens in the frontal axis and sagittal plane. Frontal axis and sagittal plane. Okay, so now talking about its osteokinematics. So in the anterior rotation, the clavicle, superior surface of clavicle moves forward, okay, forward. And in the posterior rotation, the superior surface of clavicle moves backward, okay, moves backward. Now talking about its orthokinematics, here only the spinning movement occurs, okay, here only the spinning movement occurs. So there is no gliding and sliding movement. So this was all about the kinematics of a sternoclavicular joint. So in the next video, we are going to talk about the other joints, the other kinematics of the other joint. So thank you so much for watching this video.